Hello everyone, I'm Psychotic, and that's also my screen name. We are back with episode 29 of our medieval Dynasty Let's Play. If you learned anything useful or have a good time, please don't be afraid to drop a like. If you're feeling friendly, maybe go ahead and subscribe. But without further ado, let's go ahead and launch into the game. Alrighty. And here we are back in the game. So our mare did grow to adulthood. So we now have ourselves a black horse, and I am super stoked by that. We also did a bunch of crafting. Copper bars. I did most of the copper ore. I did most of the tin ore. I did some... I don't think I did any bronze. Did a bunch more vials. You'll notice we have 800 some of those. So that we did quite a bit of crafting. Got some cabbage seed that we can sell. I did remember to take the difference out, didn't I? Did a bunch more fur shoes, some more fur hoods. Flax, where's our cabbage? Where is our cabbage? Yep, 210, we're good. Okay. So today's episode is going to take place mostly in winter, because we're about to trip over. But why am I overburdened? Because I still have 700 vials on me. Okay. Today's episode, we are going to work on determining what items are actually worth the most money per material. So we're going to put my second degree to work now. We've been using my first one to figure out mechanics. So I have a degree in computer programming and application design, and I also have a degree in business. So we're going to do some cost-benefit analysis and figure out what is actually worth it, or at least worth the most. I suppose everything's really worth it, but what's worth the most bang for your buck? Because I've noticed there are a lot between other streamers and the Reddits and the just various comments, Steam, that there seems to be very little conclusion as to what actually makes the most money. So we're going to do a little bit of math today and sort that out for sure. Hey, kiddo.
Good day.
Aw, he gave us a present. He gave us a mushroom. Do I have a sword for him? I don't. I'm sorry, kid.
Goodbye.
Could you move? Thank you. Okay. So, one of the things that I did notice between checking Reddit and the wiki and some experimentation that I did on a save that had some modified values. Essentially, it was a cheat save just to get some stuff done very, very quickly. To determine with the animals what's actually the most beneficial there. And it turns out we made kind of a misstep with the goats. Food per milk produced, cows are better. I also figured out that food per egg produced, geese are better than chickens. Now, chickens will produce more eggs in the same amount of time, but food per egg breakdown, geese are actually better. And our pigs are not there for any kind of food style increases. They're there specifically for their poop, so that we can have enough fertilizer to get our things done. I should see if we can milk these first. We can't. Okay, that's fine. That is perfectly fine. So we'll go to animals, and we're going to goats. And we've got 2 goatlings and an extra adult goat. So yeah, we actually did make some money off of this. So if selling them is 1,600. Selling the goatlings is 800, so it's half. And then is the male also 1,600? He is. So we made quite a bit off of that. And we got a diplomacy level out of it. I will take it. There we go. But yeah, so when they have babies, what you do is you move them out to their own fold that does not have somebody in it. And then you just leave them there because they can't starve to death. So once they're grown, you move them into the fold that's actually getting care. And then from there on, you should be good. Some of them I already have an idea on because I've already done some of that groundwork in other episodes, but we're gonna recover that as well. I don't expect people to just take my word for it. I'm gonna show the math and how I came to the conclusions that I came to. So I don't think you should ever just take somebody's word for something. I feel like you need to at least know why they did what they did. That's something that's always driven me nuts with the majority of streamers out there, and particularly build sites for various games, for builds for characters. I don't want to know what the best build is. I want to know why that build is the best, so that I can tweak it to my playstyle. Or at least my resources. Because that's always been one of my big hang-ups on things like MMOs. I have played a plethora of MMOs throughout the years. And the best build, if it has a half a second window for a cooldown, and you're not good enough to hit it, that's fine, but that build is not the best build for you because you're not able to play it to specification. So you're going to lose your DPS, and some other build might actually be better for you because you can't hit the windows. So I don't just want to know what skills to take or have somebody tell me what the best thing to sell is. I want to actually know why, so that I can analyze based on what I have available and my own skill set as a player to maximize. So if we look in our technology, we'll start with sticks, because I'm very familiar with sticks. So if you look at the things that you can make out of sticks, you have the small wicker basket, which takes 5 sticks and sells for 15 coins. So that gives us 3 coins per stick. So at that point, we will assign a value to sticks of 3 coins per stick. Now, if we check the other things here that also use sticks, and I know there are some, so a wooden ladle is also 3 coins per stick. A wooden spoon is also 3 coins per stick. So, wooden baskets give you 3 coins per stick, but they weigh 0.5. They do take 5 sticks, though. So this guy, the wooden ladle, gives you 3 coins per stick, equivalent, but it weighs 0.07, but it only takes 1 stick. So, if we take 0.07 times 5, we get 0.35, which means that wicker basket is not actually the item to make to get rid of your sticks, because it weighs 0.5, not 0.35. So a wooden ladle or a wooden spoon, both are equivalent, and both are actually better than the small wicker basket for your sticks. So we're going to go ahead and unlock this. Now for me, it doesn't really matter as much. I might keep with the wicker baskets because the weight is not part of my equation anymore with the markets. However, for people that don't have the market unlocked, a wooden spoon or a wooden ladle is going to be better than the small wicker baskets for your sticks. Now, if we look at the higher tier stuff out of the workshop that also takes sticks, like a medium wicker basket, 8 sticks gives you 20 coins. Well, 8 times 3 is 24, which means this is less than 3 coins per stick. Medium baskets are not worth it. If we go down to the large I'm sorry. Nothing else in here takes sticks. Well, I guess this technically takes sticks, but it also takes leather. So we haven't determined the price of leather yet, so we're going to ignore that. None of the rest of it takes sticks, though. So if we come down to the Workshop 3, the large wicker basket is 12 sticks for 25 coins. Now that is just over, because 2 times 12 is 24. That's just over 2, which is not 3, so also not worth it. Wicker basket 16 to 30 is actually less than 2, totally not worth it. So as far as sticks go, the best price that you can get per stick is 3. So we're going to assign sticks the value of 3. And for people that have to deal with weight, wooden spoons are going to be better. For people that don't have to deal with weight and using markets, small wicker baskets are actually going to be better, because even though they're the same amount of profit, we don't have to deal with the weight with them. But also, because you're using 5 sticks per, you will have fewer to sell, which means it's going to take less percentage of your market's available labor. But if you don't have the market, wooden spoon or wooden ladle is where you're going with your sticks. So now if we look at logs, we can get 4 coins out of 1 log here. So we can put a value of 4 on logs. 4 to 1 again. So buckets, 1 log makes 2 planks. So this is actually a 30 to 1 on logs for the buckets. So the wooden cup and the wooden plate are not worth it. I mean, wooden plate, if you're using it for food, totally use it. We're just talking about for purely selling at this point. The wooden cup and the wooden plate are not worth it to sell. The wooden bucket is better than both. But if we look at the wooden vial, it takes 1 plank, but it makes 10 vials. So that makes 1 plank worth 30. You get 2 planks per log, which makes 1 log worth 60. So that is a much higher value. So we're going to assign logs a value of 60 for now. Let's see, is there anything else down through here that uses logs? Wooden bolt uses sticks. Copper bolt, copper... Oh, what about spears? Oh, right. Spears aren't going to show up in here because you have to craft them yourself. But I can tell you that spears don't sell for shit. They definitely don't sell for 60. So your best bet for your logs is going to be to make wooden vials. The downside is they weigh 0.1 apiece, and each log is giving you 20, so that's 2 pounds per log. That is heavy. So that's kind of a downside. But a bucket weighs 2 kilograms and takes 1 log, so realistically the vial is still better, even if you don't have the market available. Well, it would be anyway, just for money value. So we have a value of 3 assigned to sticks and a value of 60 assigned to logs so far. So if we go to clay, is there anything up here? Nothing up here that uses clay. So let's go to workshop 2 for clay. So in workshop 2 we've got the clay bowl. 2 clay is 30 coins, so we'll call that 15. 3 clay is 40 coins, which is not 15. 45 would be 15, so far this is the best. 3 clay for 40, not 15. 1 clay for 20 on the clay cup. That is much better than 2 clay for 30. So clay now has a value of 20 instead of 15. 2 clay for 30 is 15, so we're still at 20 on the cup. Now clay vials are 1 clay for 20. So, and vials weigh less. Well, they actually weigh the same as the clay cup. But the clay cup is only for looks. The clay vials can actually be used once you get the herbalist hut up. So I would recommend going that route with your clay instead, just because that's actually a useful item and not a waste of the upfront money for buying the recipe. Clay is 30 to 40. That's not even 15. Now here's where it gets awkward, because now we're adding chicory to the mix. Chicory, daisy, dandelion, etc. So if we look, we have a 1 to 20 for clay. So here, we know that clay is worth 20, which means that chicory, daisy, dandelion, henbane, St. John's wort, and thistle are all actually worth 40 apiece if you go this route. Wait, did clay... No, I lied. The clay vase takes 3 to make, so that's not shaving off the same amount. So if clay has a value of 20 and the clay vase takes 3, then your 60 is already eaten up just by the vase, which means you're actually losing money by making these. So yeah, clay vial or clay cup, but I recommend the vial because that's going to be more useful in the long run. Now, if we look at leather, where is our sewing hut? There we go. So we can make, and we're actually right here, which is good. So there is a simple bag that can be made with 8 leather. Do we not have one? We do. And that's worth 50. So if we take 50 divided by 8, that gives us 6.25 per leather. And that can be crafted from the very beginning of the game, so that's actually viable. The ladle and wicker basket and whatnot for the sticks can't be crafted until you have access to the workshop. So we know that the simple bag gives us a value of 6.25 per leather. So if we go back into our sewing hut, let's see, is there anything that takes just leather? There was a pair of shoes that only takes leather, I thought. Yep, 12 leather for 140. So that is 11.66 coins per leather. So the shoes so far are your best use of leather. It does use more leather, but the money per leather is actually higher. So we're up to 11.66 as a value for leather. Now this is 8 to 100, which is 12.5. So we are not worried about simple shoes anymore. Or no, we're not worried about shoes anymore. Simple shoes are actually more beneficial. These give you more money, but these use less leather. So your money per leather is actually higher. It's 12.5 if you make the simple shoes. And I think we are out of things that only use leather. So if we take the value of 12.5 for leather, so we can take 12.5 times 8 for this small pouch, which gives us 100, plus we know sticks are worth 3, so that's 103. So making a small pouch out of 1 stick and 8 leather is actually worth more coinage per resource. If we know, because of the math that we've done up to this point, we know that leather's worth 12.5, sticks are worth 3. The amount cost here is 103. You get 110 for selling a small pouch. So it might actually be worth it to make that. Now we haven't got to linen yet, so we're going to skip over some of these. Now depending on our cost for linen, that might not be a bad idea. The bundles? We might have to switch to that. Oh no! Those are placeable. They're not, you can't sell the bundles, so that's irrelevant. Now the small saddlebag and the saddle require tin, so that's going to be an even more in-depth calculation. That requires linen. That's fur and leather. Okay, so we know based on the simple shoes, they are so far our best value for leather. It's 12.5. So if we take 8 leather is 100, which means we're going to have 70. So that puts fur at 7 right now. If we look at these fur shoes, because we know that 8 leather at 12.5 is 100, based on this equation here, which means adding 10 fur needs to make up that remaining 70. So 10 fur, 70, fur's worth 7 apiece. So if we look at our fur capelet, well, that takes linen. And we don't have linen figured yet. All of this takes linen. Okay. Okay, so if we look at our sewing hut 2, what do we have going on here? So that's got wool in it, that's got wool in it, that's got wool in it. That's linen. I think all of this is going to have linen or wool. Oh, nope, here we go. Fur boots. So if we figured that fur has a value of 7, so we take 16 times 7. 16 times 7. That gives us 112. Plus 12 times 12.5 means 262. So making fur boots is actually a loss as far as money per resource goes, because that comes out to 262. So it costs us 262 to make it. It's only worth 250. It's not worth it. Now this one, so we've got 12.5 times 24 is 300. There's no point doing the rest of the math for the fur, because 300 is well above 280. So boots are also not worth it. We haven't done tin yet. And we haven't done linen yet. Okay. So Sewing Hut 3, I can't see any of the recipes yet because I'm not down that far. Now, what do these reliefs take? Okay, so these reliefs... Oh, no, the recipe costs $7.50. I think these are placeable as well. I don't think you can sell them. Well, that's unfortunate. Okay, so that's 4 to 50 for clay. 50 divided by 4 is 12.5. Which is not 20. So these, if you were going to make something out of them, they might be worth it. We'll have to wait and see. But as far as just making beer bottles, mead bottles, and wine bottles for sale, it's not actually worth the clay. Because even at 50 to 4, you're looking at 12.5 per clay. And we can get 20 per clay by doing the vials in the workshop 2. The clay vials. So far, our best use of sticks is going to be wooden spoons until you hit markets, and then it's going to be wicker baskets for efficiency's sake. But they are equal amounts of payout versus material. And then for our logs, it's going to be out of workshop 1, the wooden vials are going to be the most efficient way to sell them. And that's going to give you 60 per log. Clay is going to be out of the workshop 2, and that's clay vials, which is going to give you 20 per clay. And so far, our most efficient use of fur and leather, was it this guy? I actually already forgot. Okay, so sticks is ladle slash small basket. Logs is wooden vials. Clay is clay vials. And then leather, we got to figure out where I got the 12.5. I think it was the simple shoes. So leather is, the 12.5 is figured from simple shoes. And then if we look at the fur shoes, that gives us 7 for, 7 apiece for the fur as well. So it might actually be better to start selling simple shoes and stop using our fur for fur shoes, because we're making more money through just making simple shoes. Interesting. Of course, that's before we figured out what linen is worth. So if we look at the base price of linen thread... Really? 50? Okay. Okay, so the base price of linen thread and linen fabric is going to... Well, linen thread's going to be 50, but linen fabric's going to be 60. Because 10 flax makes 1 linen thread, 1 linen thread makes 1 linen fabric. So if you were just selling it, you should never sell the thread, you should always sell the fabric. But I think you're going to be better off making stuff out of it. So if we look at 1 linen fabric and 2 linen thread, and we assume that linen is worth 60 apiece, so that's 180, which means that the simple linen shirt is actually worth more than selling them by themselves, which should not be surprising. So that actually is going to give us a value of 200 divided by 3 is 66.66 for linen so far. just looking off the simple linen shirts. So we look at this one. That adds 70, which actually makes it worth it. So you add one more linen thread, which would be another 66.66, except we get 70 out of it. So the linen shirt is better than the simple linen shirt. So at that point, we're looking at 270 divided by 4 is 67.5. So at this point, linen has a value of 67.5. Trousers are 200 to 3. That's the same as that. It's not worth it. Okay, so here's where we start getting into the supposition stuff. We have established that the highest value for linen so far that we have found is 67.5 off of the linen shirt. So if we look at the trousers with cuffs, we know that the most that we can get out of the leather is 12.5 per leather on the simple shoes. So this takes 2 leather, so we've got 12.5 times 2, plus 3 linen, so 67.5 times 3 is 227.5, and its value is 220, so making trousers with cuffs for sale is not worth it. You are better off making the other 2 things and selling those. Fur capelets, so as far as we have determined, fur is worth 7 apiece, so this takes 12 times 7, plus 2 times 67.5. Fur capelets comes out to 219, so it is actually worth selling fur capelets for money. That is a more efficient use of the fur than doing the fur shoes. So that's a thing. So fur so far should be used on fur capelets. Now, if we... Well, yeah. And your linen would be better used on the fur capelets as well, as opposed to the linen shirts, because the value is higher. So, ta-da. Now this is 2 for 100. That's not worth it. The coif is not even remotely close to worth it. So straw, I don't know what straw's base value is. It's not great. But I don't think there's anything that you can just directly make with straw to sell. 0.2. So straw has a value of 0.2 per. I had left straw off of my materials list because I didn't think about that, since you can't build anything directly out of it. So if we look at this, this is going to change our value of straw, by the way. So we know that linen fabric so far is at 67.5. So 120 minus 67.5 is 52.5 divided by 20 is going to give us a value of 2.625 for straw. If we make the straw hats. Now, if we make the flat straw hats, then it's actually going to be 130 minus 67.5 divided by 30, which really interesting. So the flat straw hats are actually less efficient than the straw hats are for money per straw. So straw hats for straw if you need it. Thick leather gloves. Are they going to be worth making? So we know that leather has a value of 12.5 times 4 plus 67.5 times 2 is 185. And they only sell for 180, so thick leather gloves are not worth making to sell. Now keep in mind, this is just for selling. So if you plan on making it to use it, by all means, make it to use it. That is not a waste of money because it's going to make your life easier. We are only worried about selling things. What is the most profitable? So 8 times 12.5 plus 3. So small pouch comes out to 103, and you can sell it for 110 based on the prices, or well, yeah, comes out to 103 based on the prices we established for leather and sticks, but you can sell it for 110. Now, what is the base price of a Stone knife. I believe it is 40. I don't know that we're going to have any because we're selling them faster than we're making them. We might have to craft one real quick. 5 and 2. Okay, so in our inventory, that stone knife is worth 40. I was right. Okay. So we know that the stone knife takes 5 sticks and 2 stones. So we know that sticks are worth 3 apiece. So 3 times 5 is 15. So if we take 40 minus 15, we get 25 divided by 2, because it takes 2 rocks, gives us 12.5. So that allows us to assign a value to stones of 12.5. So we can use that to check the other stone tools. Do we have any stone tools in here, or am I going to have to make one of each of these? We'll make ourselves a hoe, and we'll make ourselves a hammer. Understanding that they're not stones. They're just regular, but still. Okay. So if we look at our stone tools now. So a stone axe is worth 40, the same as a stone knife. A stone pickaxe is worth 45. Okay, so stone axe is worth 40. And it takes 10 sticks and 2 stones. I can tell you right off the cuff that it's not going to be worth it, because the stone knife takes less resources, and that is what we figured our stone value off of. So it is what it is. The stone pickaxe is worth 45, and the stone pickaxe takes 1 log and 4 stones. So, based on what we know about logs and stones, that's not worth it, because that's not even worth 1 log. 1 log is worth 60. So, the wooden hammer takes, 5 sticks and a log? 10 sticks and a log. So that's 30, and 60 is 90. I'm pretty sure we're not going to get 90 for a wooden hammer. Yeah, we're only getting a third what they're worth. So I'm going to say that all of the base tools are only worth making to use. They are not worth making to sell. With the exception of the stone knife. The stone knife is the only tool, and so far the only thing that we've found worth using stone to sell. So now we can look at bronze tools. I need technology. There we go. So if we look at our... Well, we could look at copper. So let's see. Copper hammer takes 2 copper bars and a stick, and it's worth 110. We know a stick's worth 3. So we'll say 107 divided by 2. We have a current value of copper of 53.5. Let's see if we can get that higher. So copper axe takes 4 and 1 log. So we know that a log is worth 60. So 180 minus 60 divided by 4 gives us a value of 30 per copper. So the copper hammer is better than the copper axe. There's going to be 60. So 110 minus 60 is 50. Divided by 2 is 25 apiece. Not worth it. Copper shovel. Definitely not worth it. Copper sickle. Nope. Our current value of copper is 53.5 times 3 is over 150, and it's only 140, so it's not worth it. Now this one might be. So let's see. We've got 110 minus 3 for the stick divided by 2 gives us the same 53.5. So does it weigh the same amount as the hammer? It weighs less than the hammer. So as far as copper goes, so far our best to sell for copper is the copper knife. Takes the same requirements as the copper hammer for the same amount of money, but it weighs a quarter of the weight. So far the copper knife is ideal for copper. Now we're going to get into some interesting stuff with arrows. And one of the first things that we should have checked is, what do base arrows cost? I believe it's 2 sticks, 10 feathers, Or no, 10 sticks, 10 feathers, and 2 stones. But let's go find out. Okay, so stone arrows are worth 7 apiece. So it takes 10 sticks, so that's 30, plus 10 stones, so that's 12.5, or no, 2 stones, 12.5 times 2, plus, oh, well, actually, so that's 55. So, remember, it makes 10 arrows, so we need to take 70 instead of 7, minus 55, and then divide that by 10 for arrows, or for feathers. So that gives us a value per feather of 1.5, which is not flattering. What do feathers sell for on their own? On their own, each feather sells for 3, which is double what we just figured out for arrows. So that's going to be the play for feathers so far. Now, if we look at the copper arrows, which was the whole reason that we needed to figure out what the stone arrows were worth, was to figure out the worth of the feathers. Copper arrows come from the smithy. And copper arrows are 2 copper bars. Okay, so we know that we have 90 is our goal here. So 90 minus 30 for the sticks, minus 107 for the copper, and we are already in the negative. Copper arrows are not worth making. So if you're making things out of copper to get rid of your copper and sell, copper knives are the way to go. So let's move on down to bronze. I'm pretty sure bronze is going to turn out the exact same way, except with bronze. So let's go for... So it's 220 minus 3 for the stick. Gives us 217. Divided by 2 is 108.5 for bronze. Now if we look here... So this is 350. So we've got 350 minus 60 for the log. Divided by 4 is 72.5. Which is less than 108.5. Same. It's worth... So the bronze pickaxe is worth 10 more than the bronze axe, but it's still not going to make enough of a difference. That's totally not worth it. The bronze hoe. The bronze shovel is... I believe that one's painfully low as well. So 360 minus 120 divided by 4 is 60. Yeah, that one's even worse. Bronze sickle is 290 minus 60 divided by 3. 76. Nope, not worth it. Bronze knife. I'm going to bet that this is worth the same as the bronze hammer. Wait. No, it's worth more money. Same materials, more money. Okay, so we have 220 minus 3 divided by 2. Nope, that is the same. What the shit? Oh, I misclicked. Don't mind me. They're both worth 220. So it's going to be the same thing with the bronze as it is with the copper. The bronze knife is going to be your best bet so far, because it weighs a little less than half what the hammers do, and they are worth the same amount. Bronze scythe is not going to be worth it. Bronze arrow, probably not, but let's see. So we have 110 minus 30 minus 10 times 3 is another 30, is 50. Divided by 2 is 25 apiece. Nope, bronze arrows are not worth it. Bronze bolts, same thing. Bronze spear. 330 minus 60. We don't have a value for wool yet, but even if we go from here and divide that by 2, it's still not worth it. So even without the wool figured in, still not worth it. Bronze. Okay. here's our moneymaker. We actually broke the bronze knife. This one is pretty simple. Bronze knife gives you a value of 108.5 for bronze. The bronze shearing scissors only require 1 bronze bar, and they give you 110. So that is worth more. Which gives our bronze a value of 110 now. The downside is the weight, but the weight is only... So a bronze knife weighs 3/4 what a shearing scissors does, but the shearing scissors is the more efficient use of your bronze bars. Now let's see if the wooden crossbow is worth it or not. I wondered about these. So we have 150 minus 120. No, it's not. Divided by 2 would be 15 apiece. And we established that the value for linen was 67.5, not 15. So the wooden crossbow is also not worth making to sell. I can't do iron yet because I can't get into iron yet. But so far, our best bets are the bronze shearing scissors. Correct, Stesso. Based on the way that the copper and the bronze shook out, I would lay money that you are correct, and it is the iron scissors for iron, because the ratios seem to be pretty solid all the way through. So our fur capelet actually give us more fur than the... Oh, right, because we didn't do wool yet. Okay, so the base price of wool is 100. The fabric is 120. So if we make wool 120 for base, then let's see, a simple tunic is 1 wool. So let's see, 2 leather is going to be 12.5 times 2 plus 3 times 67.5 is 227.5. So if we take 380 minus 227.5, that gets us a value of 152.5 for wool. And so far that is off of the simple tunic. So let's go to hose. Hose might actually be a more favorable spread here. It's 370 minus 67.5 times 3 is 167.5. So 167.5 so far for wool. And that is off of the hose. Short sleeve tunic. 320 minus 25 minus 67.5 times 2 is 160, which is less than the hose at 167.5. So our tunic is 470 minus 25 minus 67.5 times 2 is 310. Divided by 2 is 155. So the hose are still better. What about joined hose? 460 minus 67.5 times 2 is 325. Divided by 2 is 162. That is less than the hose. So far for wool, the hose are where it's at. This might give it a run for its money. We'll see. So let's see. We have 320 minus 67.5 times 2. It's 185 divided by 1. Oh, 185. Nope, we have a winner. We have a jackpot. So far, wool's value is 185, and that is for the hat, just the basic hat. So if we go to the cap is only linen. Didn't we already calculate the cap? I feel like the cap was a loser. So that's 230 minus 3 times 67.5 is negative by a lot. Oh, wait, that's not. I had another value still in there. That's my fault. 230 minus 67.5 times 3. It's 27.5? 67.5 times 3 is 202. Oh, I think the cap's a winner. Over the linen shirt. 230 divided by 3 is 76.6 repeating. Yeah. Okay. So the regular cap is actually the winner for the linen so far. And I will read all of these off once we get to the very end as to what is the most efficient. 290 divided by 4 is 72.5. 76 is better. The hood, we figured wool fabric is at 185. So the hood is 330 divided by 2 is 165. So no. So far the hose are still the winner for the wool. Or I'm sorry, the hat is still the winner for the wool. The fur hood is 370 minus 7 times 4 is 28. Yeah, between the programming and the business school, like math is kind of my jam, but I never actually took the time to sit down and do all of this. And people tell you what to craft all over the internet, and nobody can agree. So when you sit down and actually do the math, you can't argue with numbers. You just can't. So if we take that divided by the 2 for wool, that gives us 171, which is not as good as the hat. Fur boots, 16 fur and 12 leather. So based on what we valued both of those at, we have 7 times 16 plus 12 times 12.5 is 262. It sells for 250. That's not the best. 24 times 12.5 plus 14 is 314. That's 280. It is not the best. Now we haven't got to the tin stuff yet. I suppose we could derive tin's value from bronze by deducting the value of copper. So if we took bronze as a value of 110 minus copper, which is a value of 53.5, that's going to give us 56.5 for tin. So we can figure that into the pouch to see if it's worth using tin for the pouch. So we have leather is 12.5 times 10. That was super stupid. That's 125. I didn't need to do math for that. Plus 56.5 is 181.5. So the pouch is almost worth it. Almost. It's off by 1.5 coins of being the equivalent. I mean, it's not worth it, but it's right friggin' there. Simple backpacks. So we've got 3 leather, so we take 12.5 for the leather times 3 plus 15 because we know sticks are 3 apiece. Plus linen thread, and we've established that linen is currently worth, I lost my linen, 76.66 times 3. I can tell you this isn't worth it. The simple backpack is not worth it. We're already at 282 and we haven't figured in the last fur. So, not worth it. It's only 260. Saddlebags, 370. So let's do 6 times 12.5 plus, we figured 10 was 56.5 plus 4 times 76.66 is 438. That is super not worth it. Saddlebags are, wow. I would buy saddlebags. I don't even know that I would bother to craft them at that rate. It's over 100 coins better to make the other things out of these materials than it is the saddlebag. So I feel like at that point it'd be worth just buying the damn saddlebag. I don't know that we already did these 3. We know that none of them are worth it. And we already did these 3, and we know that none of them are worth it. So that's pointless. Now, I'm not going to go... It's worth 185 per... Okay. Now, I did kind of screw up here. So the wool and the linen are for their cloth, by the way. So, wool itself, and that one's in particular is more confusing than the linen, because linen comes from flax. So linen is actually 10 flax, which turns into a thread, and a single thread turns into a cloth. So we know that linen cloth is worth 76.66. Now when I say wool, I mean the wool cloth. Wool itself is worth 1/8 of the 185, because it takes 8 wool to spin a thread, and then you have to turn the thread into a cloth to get the 185 out of it. So I suppose I should be specific there and say that wool cloth is worth 185, not wool. So where we're at right now, pigs are the only ones that directly give you poop. So pigs are obviously going to be the best for making fertilizer. So they're the most profitable in the manure department. As far as milk goes, cows are actually better than goats for feed per milk, but they are later to get. So that's a thing. And then geese are better food per egg than chickens. Chickens will give you more eggs faster, but they require more food per egg than the geese do. So as far as efficiency is concerned, you want pigs, you want cows, and you want geese. Now for materials, sticks, each stick that you have is worth 3 coins apiece, provided you are making either ladles. If you don't have a market, ladles are going to be your best bet because they're light, or small baskets if you have a market and have them sold through the market, because they are exactly the same. They are 3 coins per stick, but the small baskets are heavier, but they use 5 sticks at a time, so you will be using less labor in your market, making them more efficient than the ladles, provided you're using a market. As far as stones go, the most profitable use of stones we discovered was, in fact, stone knives. Everybody is right on that one. So your stones are actually worth 12.5 apiece, coins per stone. Logs are worth 60 coins per piece if you turn them into if you turn them into planks and then wood vials. So logs are worth 60 coins apiece. Clay is worth 20 coins per clay, and that is if you make clay vials out of it. That is the most efficient use of your clay for coin outcome. Bronze is worth 110 coins per bronze bar, and that is per bronze shearing scissors. They are just slightly better than the knives and the hammers. So bronze shearing scissors are your bronze seller, and they are worth 110 coins per bronze bar. Copper bars are worth 53.5 each, and they are for copper knives. Copper knives are going to be your most efficient use of copper, and 53.5 per copper bar. Leather is worth 12.5, and your most efficient sale for leather is simple shoes. So you want to make sure to sell simple shoes. Fur, your most effective use of fur is going to be fur capelets, and that makes fur worth 7 coins apiece. So seeing as fur and leather come from the same place, I would actually say that it's probably best not to have your hunters gather fur and just have them go ham on leather. I would use that percentage towards leather because the simple shoes do not require fur, and our linen cap, which is for linen, are most effective, and our wool hat, neither of those require fur either. So we're not using fur anywhere other than for fur capelets, which I believe fur capelets also take leather. Nope, they take linen. So yeah, it's actually kind of inefficient to use fur. If you have some, you could always hammer some fur capelets out just to get rid of it, or just sell it directly. If you sell it directly, you're not going to get 7 coins a piece for it. But honestly, it's one of the cheapest items here, other than maybe straw. Your linen is going to be worth 76.66 per linen cloth. And bear in mind that it is 10 flax per spindle, 1 spindle per cloth. So, and we got that using the cap. So if we look at the cap, and now the cap is kind of far down here. I mean, it's in Sewing Hut too, so you have to have at least 750 in production to get down there. But if you're making yourself ladles and you're making yourself stone knives, and then eventually, once you get the workshop open, making yourself wooden vials, you're going to get down there in no time. So the cap requires 2 linen fabric and 1 linen thread. So that's going to be 30 flax per. And remember to do a 2-to-1 when you turn your threads into fabric. But that is going to be your most efficient use of it, and it's going to give you 76.66 value for your linen. Wool cloth is 185, and the best use of that is the hat. And that also requires linen. It's going to require linen fabric and linen thread, so 2 linen, basically, and 1 wool. And that's going to give you 185 per for wool. Which I actually feel like maybe once you have access to wool, because that's going to be the kicker here. Because if you look in farming, wool's actually kind of down there. You got to get the fold first, which is at 2,500. Whereas you can start planting flax from your very first spring. So I feel like maybe once you have access to wool, give up on the hats and go all in on, or give up on the caps and go all in on the hats for money. I'm actually going to unlock that recipe right now for that very reason. Now, straw, the best use of straw is going to be the basic straw hat, not the flat straw hat. But that is not going to be an efficient use of your linen to simply get 2.6 value per straw. I feel like there are much better things to use your resources on than that. And that's actually going to change my production around quite a bit, because I had them gathering straw for hats, and now I know that it's actually not worth it. So I'm going to have to re-gear some stuff. Now, feathers are worth 3 apiece, which should not be surprising because that is their base price, and they are not actually, they don't appreciate if you use them for anything. Your best bet with your feathers is to sell them direct. However, they are great for the early game. You can set the traps and get feathers that way, and you can also get feathers from your hunting shack, and at 3 apiece, they are not going to be as effective as your leather at 12.5, so I'm actually going to cut my feathers off. But it's good to know that they're there. And tin is effectively 56.5 per bar. And the way that we figured tin out, because tin is only used for a couple of things, like the pouch, I think, uses tin. Yep. None of the stuff that requires tin to craft is worth selling because of the other materials involved. So the value that we got for tin of 56.5 came from, it takes one copper and 1 tin to make 1 bronze. So if we take our bronze value of 110 minus our copper value of 53.5, we get the 56.5. So that's where we derived our value for tin, but it's not really effective in crafting anything, so to speak. So that is what we know. I actually went a little bit later than I meant to tonight, but we did the hard work. We did the math. So we know what we need to make to maximize our resources. So sticks, ladles, and or small baskets. Preferably ladles until you get the market, then the small baskets. Stones, stone knives, which is going to use some of your sticks. But that's okay because the stones are worth more than the sticks, so the stone knives are actually more efficient than the ladles. The only time that you should be making your ladles is when you run out of stone for stone knives, if you still have sticks left. Your logs is going to be wooden vials. Your clay is going to be clay vials. Your bronze is going to be bronze shearing scissors. Your copper is going to be the copper knife. Provided you're not using it for bronze, it is more effective to use it for bronze. But there is more copper than tin in the cave to begin with before you get the mine all the way open. So effectively, you will have more copper than bronze. So you will have an excess of copper to get rid of. Copper knives are the way to do it. Leather is simple shoes. Fur is not ideal. Anything that uses fur uses other materials that would be a better use of your time. But if you have fur that you want to get rid of, fur capelets are the way to go. Linen is not a good idea to use by itself, provided you have wool open. If you don't have wool open, then you absolutely can use it by itself. And the most optimal use for linen is the cap. Wool, the most optimal use is the hat. Straw, the most optimal use, and I highly recommend not using the straw for this, is the straw hat. And that's because the linen would be better used in going into the hat to get you the extra money for your wool. Feathers sell base, and tin turn into bronze. Just turn your tin into bronze. Don't bother trying to craft shit with that. And there we have it. Those are our values. So now, if you learned anything useful, please don't be afraid to like, or if you had a good time. And if you're feeling friendly, maybe go ahead and subscribe. But either way, have a fantastic rest of your night, and we will see you next time.